A song comes on. 3 minutes later, you don't know if you just got sad or healed, maybe both. Well, that's what a handful of songs do to me. Earth, Wind, and Fire's That's the Way of the World, Enigma's Return to Innocence, Supertramp's The Logical Song, and Pink Floyd's Another Brick in the Wall. 4 different decades, 4 different sounds, same wound. Each deeply resonated with me at various points in my life. I never knew exactly why at the time, but now I do. Every one of them is about a kid who shows up in the world wide open, and what the world does is shut that down. In the article, I've linked to the songs that are referenced. If you have time, go find the article or just go to YouTube and look up the songs and go down the rabbit hole with me. Give them a listen. The first song is a logical song, and it reads almost like a case file. A kid starts out amazed by everything magical, mystical, alive with wonder. Then he gets set off to be educated. And somewhere along the way, the wonder gets swapped out for something more useful to everyone but him: logic, responsibility. Straighten up and fit in if you want to succeed. Pink Floyd names the same thing and turns it into a chant. We don't need no education. There's no subtlety about who's doing the shutting down. The institution grinds kids through a system built for control, not curiosity. In the movie, there's even a meat grinder as the kids are turned into something pliable and void of individuality. Both songs are diagnoses. They tell you where it went wrong and they tell you who did it. Neither one tells you what to do once you know. And honestly, that's where most of us stop. We spend years confirming a diagnosis. Yes, the world did this to me. Yes, I can point to the exact moment. We go to therapy and they tell us why we are the way we are. And in fact, I was inspired to write this article after seeing someone claim that our entire personalities are just trauma responses. Yeah, I know it can seem that way because huge parts of them are anyway. Naming the wound is real work. It's just not the whole job. Now that we know, what do we do? Earth, Wind, and Fire actually named the machine. That's the way of the world isn't a diagnosis as much as it is a lament. It describes what the world rewards and what it costs for you to keep up. This is the view from inside the compromise. The song doesn't ask you to get free of it, it just tells the truth about what playing along does to you. So Supertramp and Pink Floyd show you the wall going up. That's the way of the world shows you what it's like to live inside it, knowing the game is rigged and playing it anyway because everyone around you is doing the same thing. Only one of these songs I've named so far talks about getting back. I went back to all 4 of these songs after years of doing grief work, and here's what got me. Only Enigma talks about the way back. Now, not backward. You're not unlearning anything. They call it return to innocence. And the video is brilliant. I'm telling you, I probably watched it 1,000 times. It shows a life going backward, Benjamin Button style, as an old man becomes a baby again. But the truth is more subtle. It's forward into something that got buried but never actually left. The song barely has lyrics. It's more of a chant than it is a statement, more of a feeling than explanation. There are no instructions, just an insistence that what got taken from you wasn't taken forever. It's still underneath there, somewhere beneath everything in the world piled on top. I didn't understand why the distinction mattered until I found the word for it. There's a guy named Emanuel Swedenborg. He's an 18th century theologian, and he drew a distinction that's captivated me since I first heard it actually several years ago. I think it's the missing instruction manual for all 4 of these songs. He said there are 2 kinds of innocence. The first is the innocence of infancy, the wonder filled child Supertramp sings about, the beautiful creature Earth, Wind, and Fire talks about, the uncorrupted kid Pink Floyd names. They're all about the openness that the world eventually shuts down. But look closely. That innocence is really ignorance. Now, I don't mean ignorant here in the pejorative sense. It's literally not yet knowing. I think in the case of our returns to Earth when we're reincarnated, it's a matter of forgetting. We start with a relatively blank slate. It's not earned innocence, it's a starting condition handed to you before the world gets a chance to test you. You come in wide eyed and open. But the second innocence Swedenborg talks about is in a different animal entirely. It only exists on the other side of experience. You can't fake it, and you can't stay young enough to skip needing it. It shows up after you've been out in the world, after you've lived what that's the way of the world describes, after you've felt the wall go up brick by brick, and you choose it anyway, not once, over and over. It's what awaits at the end of the Wall album by Pink Floyd when the wall is torn down. The first innocence gets lost the moment life happens to you. Nobody has a say in that. The second innocence you build on purpose, slowly, and it costs something. That's what Enigma is pointing at, whether the songwriters knew it or not. Not a return to not knowing, a return to you carrying everything that you know now. So, what does this have to do with grief? If you've lost someone, you already understand the second innocence. You just might not have a word for it. You don't get the first innocence back. You don't get to unknow what loss taught you, how fragile this life is, how fast it can change, what it costs to love someone all the way through. But something else opens up. Not the return of what was, the emergence of someone who has metabolized the damage instead of being defined by it. Someone still capable of wonder, not despite what happened, but because they walked all the way through it and came out the other side still able to feel. The world becomes magical again. You begin to trust again, not out of ignorance, but out of experience. I call this planted, not buried. You are not the one you were before the loss. You are also not only broken. Something in you can grow into a shape that couldn't have existed any other way. That is the second innocence. And you can't go back, but you can go through. Supertramp, Earth, Wind, and Fire, and Pink Floyd are right about what happens to us. The world closes something in us. There's a machine, it builds a wall. But Enigma got a hold of something that they never touched. The way back isn't back at all, it's through the grief, through the disillusionment, through everything the world piled on top of who you actually are, and out the other side into a self who knows what you know now and stays open anyway. What would it take for you to return to that kind of innocence? Not the one you had before the world got to you, the one that's only available now on the other side of what you've already survived. Now, I want to make a note on the album The Wall. This is a PS. Another Brick in the Wall is a song I reference, and it's just one song from an album that's a masterpiece. It came out in 1979. I was a sophomore in college at the time. I was 18 years old when I first heard this album. And I didn't really know why, but I was fascinated. I listened to it several times a day for months. But I don't think I fully got the album's arc until I saw the movie. The album is about the return to innocence. Our hero, Pink, is bandied about by the vicissitudes of life: an overprotective mother, an absent father, a school system that stifles him, a wife that cheats on him, and a music career that only cares about what he can produce on stage. He spends his life building one brick at a time in the wall to keep the world out, only to find the wall has become a prison. The last song is about life on the other side of the wall after he is forced to destroy it.